There we go.
That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you all here online. And thank you for doing the wonderful work that each and every one of you do around climate, Mother Earth, everything else that is involved. It's very, very inspiring what you do. So I really do love and appreciate it. Thank you ever so much for the induction, Jane. A little bit more of an induction as well. So my partner and I, who's sadly not here tonight, is founders of Soul Haven. Soul Haven is a community garden based in Malton, and we're an award-winning permaculture site as well. So yes, so we're all about fair share, people care, and earth care in everything that we do is our ethos. We open the community garden up twice a week. And if I keep pointing out there, that's because the garden is out there. Yeah, I have a habit of doing that. So yeah, but we invite volunteers to come twice a week on a Monday and a Tuesday, help out in the garden, but also, more importantly, to learn about growing food, to learn about how they can nurture Mother Earth whilst they're still growing food, and then obviously what to do with that food as well. So I've been a chef. Gosh, I've been a chef. I'm not going to tell you the whole number, but it's around 25 years now, on and off. I've been a vegan now for 9 years as well. And really, it is becoming more and more appreciative of the food that we do grow and we do eat up here. For us, it's more about people growing rather than food growing. But I would say we'll probably grow about 80% of our food and that we do eat around vegetables and things. And obviously we do give it away to volunteers and people who come on site as well. We also run something called Ploughing the Mind, which is a 12-week course for people who are struggling with mental health, isolation, lack of confidence as well. So that's a 12-week course, 1 week in the year having conversations, and the next week outside in the garden, learning, just being in nature, just being connected to Mother Earth. It could be harvesting herbs, it could be sowing seeds, it could be picking lavender off that we've harvested, ready for doing other arts and crafts with it, what we do up here in Soul Haven as well. Soul Haven's been here, gosh, about 9 years now. And it's grown and evolved over the course of time. It was a dream that was always too big for us, but actually now we're really settling into it. We're being shown the way by Mother Earth, what is and what isn't working and things. It's a 3/4 of an acre site. We're very blessed to live on here as well. And it's based on an 80-acre farm, which is very interesting, I have to say. So the farmer does his thing out there, but is very conscious about what we do over here. And we speak to the farmer on a regular basis because he's a very traditional farmer in what he does. But yeah, we have some very good conversations around things, how he can progress, obviously with carbon footprint and everything else like that that goes into the farming, and the gas emissions and things as well. So he's actually diversing a part of his land into growing food, growing potatoes. He's got chickens on the land now as well. He's got 200 chickens, and he's interested on things as well as obviously the cattle and the sheep as well, but he's wanting to diverse a little bit as well. So sadly, it's very, very slow steps. I can personally be quite impatient. I like everything to be done as quickly as possible, especially when it comes to Mother Earth and Mother Earth's care and things. But no, at least he's making some progress, and at least he's actually thinking about what it is that he is doing, which is phenomenal. Because when we arrived, when we arrived here 9 years ago, it was a very, very different story about the traditional ways of farming and things. So yes, so slowly, gradually. I do invite you to ask questions as we go along, or write them on a piece of paper so you don't forget them, and I'll do Q&A at the end as well. But really, this is all about
Or pop
food.
questions into the chat if you want to as well, and we
Yeah,
can pick them up at the
yeah,
end. That's always good.
that's
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, so sustainable food. Gosh, where do I start? I have a love and passion about food. I was growing up on a sustainable farm. If we ran out of milk on the breakfast table, my mum said, well, you've got to go and milk the cow. And at the ages of under 7 and under 10, I went, I can't do that. And it wasn't explained to me. We definitely never went to a supermarket or a shop for anything that we put inside our mouths. But at the time, I didn't appreciate it. I learned a lot, but I didn't appreciate it. I mean, we got to a stage where it was, let's grow corn, let's grow wheat, let's grow corn, let's mill our own flour to make our own bread, to have our own homemade butter on it, and our homemade jams and preserves and everything else. And that's where the love of food came from, was actually the taste and the difference of the food. But I didn't understand what we were doing when I was so young. I wish now I had taken a little bit more time and effort to write some notes on it, because my mother and my stepfather knew a lot about sustainability and sustainability of food and things, and they taught me a lot of good things. So yes, but sustainability of food for Soulhaven as a whole, Soulhaven as a business, but also Soulhaven as a chef, sustainable food as an individual as well, is very something that's very close to my heart. Obviously, we eat a lot more plants than we do livestock at the moment. I'll let you into secret. Samuel does occasionally steer off, but that's his journey. That's not my journey. But yeah, so we eat a lot of plants, and we grow a lot of different varieties. Now, we've grown over 50 varieties of vegetables this year in our 3/4 of an acre. We've got a polytunnel out there, which is we're very blessed with, because that was funded through the National Lottery for the work that we do in the community. But yeah, but over 50 varieties of vegetables and things. So yeah, we eat a lot. We eat a lot. But we found, especially this, not so much this year, but coming up to this year, we wasted a lot because we were learning, and obviously volunteers were learning and things, and we were learning along the way. I'll give you an example. Last year we had volunteers here, and I love them to bits, and we love them to bits for the work that they do. And we write a list of different jobs that they would like to do, so they get to choose rather than being told or asked what to do. And one of it was sow 10 lettuces. They misread it, and they sowed 100 lettuces. And last year, all of a sudden, we had 100 lettuces already at the same time. And it was just like, oh my gosh, 101 different recipes to do with lettuces, yes. But we also then put it out on Facebook. So we've got quite a following on Facebook, social media, and obviously the database and things, to just come and pick your own. And over a weekend, gosh, we must have seen about 70 people just come up here. And for the love of, and the thrill of the little children, especially, going to pick a lettuce leaf, just blew us away, because at the end of the day, a lot of them didn't know where a lettuce came from, apart from a plastic bag that's been in a fridge or brought by a supermarket and things. So yeah, so that was really, really interesting. So waste is a big thing for us to be more sustainable. How do we stop the waste? 30% of what most people buy in their supermarket or the shopping trolleys is actually put straight into the bin. I suggest batch cooking. So it's tenfold with food. So how do we get lower priced food from the supermarket, if that's where our source is, or from farmers markets and things? We've got a very good farmers market locally, which we attend as well. But how to get a good quality of food at the right time, in the right season, and then do what with it. We do a lot of batch cooking, so I spend a couple of days in here. Yesterday I spent in here making like green tomato chutney and fried green tomatoes, because obviously the weather's turned and all of a sudden our tomato plants have wilted, and not like the cold weather, but we're left with a lot of green tomatoes. So we've batch cooked it, made it into chutneys, made it into fried green onions, which we'll serve probably with hash browns and maybe almost like a breakfast item. But we've frozen it. Now we freeze obviously in glass rather than plastic. I haven't got a dish. Oh, yes, I have. So yeah, so I freeze in glass. It's a lot easier. This can go straight from the freezer straight into the oven as well, so it's more time effective with things. So yeah, so I tend to batch cook in those with glass lid.
Yeah, no, hang on.
Hi, Dave.
Hello, sorry, let me mute.
That's okay, it's not a problem. Welcome. Welcome. So yeah, so batch cooking.
I can mute you, Dave. There we go. Sync.
Thank you.
There we go. So sorry, is that batch cooking for your own personal use, or is that for do you sort of serve meals to other people? And
we serve meals to other people. We cook for ourselves and batch cook for ourselves. We serve other people as well. So on volunteer days, nobody gets away without being fed. I am a feeder. So yeah, so it's a cup of tea, it's a piece of cake, or it's a lunch and things as well. So yeah, so for quantity of time and less waste, I batch cook, get out the feeder, out the freezer, straight into the oven. And I do that with soups and pies and casseroles and kale. Our kale has been particularly good this year. So yes, we've got about 100 pounds of kale in the deep freeze right now. And what can you do with kale? Lots of things. So yeah.
So which farmers market do you go to, Natasha?
We go to one over in Onley. Not too far away, about 20-minute drive.
Okay.
It's not on at the moment because it's winter.
Okay.
Yeah, but in summertime it's really good. And there's lots and lots of local producers that go on there as well.
Okay.
So you've got people, I would like to say people like Fry's Farm, who do preserves and cheeses and things. The Good Loaf. Do you all know the Good Loaf?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, no, they're great. Just I'm kind of conscious there isn't really, as far as I'm aware, a farmers market in Northampton. I think they had a go at having one on the marketplace, but it never really got.
Never took off.
Yeah.
No, never took off. Sadly, I wish it did, because yeah. But a lot of people's opinions is, well, I can buy a bowl of fruit for £1, or here's something that's organic and not been sprayed and lovely nurtured for £2, £2.50. And of course, budget is a budget at the end of the day, but they're not getting the quality of the nutrition inside of it. I mean, if you wash a supermarket apple at the moment in hot water, you can actually see a whole film of wax on your hot water where you've washed your apple. And obviously the wax is there as a preservant, but it's also there to make it shiny and attractive, and apparently taste a lot better with things. So yeah, and of course they go on and on. So yes, Rupert, you got a question?
Well, I just got a statement. As an ex-fruit grower, I can tell you English fruit growers do not wax their fruit. They're not allowed to. So it's imported fruit that's waxed. If you want to avoid waxed fruit, buy English.
Brilliant.
Excellent. That's very good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And also things like aubergines or eggplants, whichever way you want to call it. If you buy those, some of the eggplants have been dipped in dye to make them nice and purple. Yeah. And yeah, you can see, depending where they come from, obviously, so be careful with your labels of where they come from. But if you were to actually wash certain aubergines or eggplants in boiled water, the dye would come off and you'd be left with something that really didn't resemble much of a nice shiny purple aubergine with things. And whilst we're on this subject, just be careful with rice, because certain rice from abroad which is our main supply of rice, obviously, is actually plastic, because they found it cheaper to actually make rice out of plastic that's really not edible, but looks like rice, and we eat it, we can't digest it. And that's where we get a lot of our allergies from, and a lot of bloatedness and IBS and different digestive conditions from, is actually because we're eating plastic. It's quite amazing what you can actually find in what's so-called as food nowadays. So yes, be very careful where that comes from for things. But yes, so a sustainable food, eat more plants, obviously we've spoken about that, cut the waste. Budgeting is really good, budgeting and planning. Let's try and get this 30% straight into the bin down to, well, ideally obviously zero with that, but that's planning, that's budgeting. Write a shopping list and stick to your shopping list with things. Maybe not go for the cheapest. So I did an experiment a few weeks ago. I went to Marks and Spencer's and I brought certain fruit and vegetables, which I just wanted to do as the experiment. They were all English, like English strawberries, English raspberries. Sadly, our raspberries this year, somebody cut the raspberries too short, so they haven't fruited this year. But I was wanting raspberries for a particular dinner that I was doing. So Marks and Spencer's, English raspberries, English strawberries, compared to, let's say, your average supermarket strawberries and raspberries. And I put them both in the fridge, taken them out of their plastic container into the fridge. And the ones in the market from M&S lasted 10 days. The ones from other supermarkets lasted 3 days. So where is the budget with, well, I can have strawberries and raspberries, just the example, that will last longer, or I can buy cheaper ones from other supermarkets, but they don't last as long and they go straight into the bin. So yeah, just be wary where we're getting our fruit from. Grow your own. Obviously, I think all of you know about growing your own as much as possible, whether it's on a windowsill with a pot of herbs and things, or whether it's a window box. If you haven't got a garden, that's always really good. We've spoken about supporting local businesses as much as possible and find out where they are, especially now that Christmas is, oh gosh, dare I say Christmas, where Christmas comes up and all the craft stores are out and the local produces are out and things. Go and check them out whilst you can. Some of them have got some really good produce on there, and it makes a huge difference. So yeah, and this is my own opinion, obviously, but it is what goes in here, this body as a whole, makes a difference. Now, we are what we eat at the end of the day. Do we want to put chemicals inside of us? Do we want to put, oh gosh, the GMO inside of us? Do we want to put all the pesticides and everything inside of us? Or do we want to actually I wouldn't say treat ourselves, but nurture ourselves with the quality that we know that is good for us? It may be a little bit more expensive, but it nurtures us as a whole. So yeah, listening to what the body wants rather than having to go down the norm of having to get everything at a budget price. This body is important. We've only got one. We have a lot of work to do between us by helping Mother Earth and all the great work that each and every one of us do with that. So yeah, what goes in makes a lot of difference, and it cuts out a lot of the illnesses and things. So since I've been vegan, or should I say before I was vegan, I was on a lot of steroids, antibiotics for 3 years. I had several different skin conditions and things, and then I moved to Northampton, or Malton, Northampton. I became a lot more sustainable, and I haven't taken any pharmaceuticals now for 5 years plus, because I'm a true believer what goes in helps us, and what is grown and what Mother Earth provides us, there is a remedy for it. And on the way, it might be Might be silly when you put a slice of onion in a sock and sleep with it on your feet, but it certainly does work. But that's a whole different arena with things. But yeah, it's amazing what comes out with an onion or a grated potato patch on your eye to help you with your conjunctivitis and things. So yeah, but there's some great herbal remedies, but that's a whole different kettle of conversation and things. So yeah. So has anybody got any questions?
So I was going to ask, 50 varieties of, I'm guessing, fruit and vegetables seems like a lot. What are the things that you're growing that we might not expect necessarily to be grown in the UK or in this area?
That's a really good question. Kiwi.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got kiwi in the polytunnel. It's 3 years old, so the plant is 3 years old, and this year we had our very, very first kiwi from it. And it's just like, yeah. So yes, that was super delicious. We split it between 10 of us. So it's a little tiny mouthful. But
yes.
It's nurturing now. It's on its way now with things. Sweet potatoes. We've done a lot of sweet potatoes this year. Melons.
Yeah.
Well, so we've had 2 different variety of melons with things. Not okra, which is almost like a little Japanese. Have I got one in store? No. Okra, little like it's about this big. It's a very small variety of a potato.
Okay.
And it's a very ridged little tuber. Very, very sweet. It's got a lot less carbs in it than your average white or red potato. So I try and watch my carbs as well, because I was diagnosed diabetic for not moving after several different things that's happened. But I regulate it with my food rather than taking insulin and things like that. So carbs to me is very, very important. So yeah, anything low carb, I'm happy with that. So yes. Any other questions? No. Just out of interest, with no judgment here at all, is how many of you are just plant-based, or do we all eat meat at the moment? Just out of curiosity.
So I think Leonie put her hand up as being a vegan. Does anybody else? I'm not, I have to say. Ella is as well. So I think there's probably 2 of us here that are fully vegan. I think I'm trying to eat less meat. Generally succeeding, but still very much still a meat eater, I have to say.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And it is a journey, if that's a journey that you would like to go down, obviously. With things, there's many different foods out there that has a resemblance of meat. But if you are going that way, just be careful, because some of the beyond meat ingredients are actually there's a whole list of things in the ingredients that you actually think, well, what even is that? It's nothing that you could actually identify with. So yes, if you ever do go,
a lot of the vegan alternatives that you can buy are very much moving into the realms of the ultra processed foods, aren't they? So yeah,
absolutely.
And Bryony's put a question into the chat to say her daughter is vegan, and have you got any recipe book recommendations, or indeed recipes, I guess? Are there any sort of chefs that write recipe books for vegans that you think are particularly good? Or
here's one.
That looks a little bit familiar.
So oh gosh, there's nothing like so this is a 31 recipe book. Basics from mayonnaise, pancakes, cupcakes, soups, oat milk, making your own milk and things, nuts and black bean burger, but each one has got a QR code, and on that QR code, if you scan it, it takes it to a video for you to actually cook it, or in the kitchen with me here, going into a lot more detail about the ingredients and things, because it's not all about getting the recipe 100%. It's about what else do you have in your pantry. So although the recipe is written, in a very loose way. There are different alternatives, and that's explained in each video for the
That's a really useful thing, I
each
think.
video.
Where can we get it from, Natasha?
But yeah, what I can do is share a link with Jane in an email.
Yep, that'd be
with
great.
things. But also, if you wanted a discount on that, if you let me know how many of you would like a copy, I'm happy to do a copy at £10 and send them out to you, or to deliver them close by, because on Amazon they're at £31, because this is actually helping us fund what we do.
Right.
But obviously I'm happy to do that for £10. As your
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Natasha,
really
that's
kind.
yeah, thank you very much.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can let Jane know if anybody
Please
wants
do.
it,
Yeah.
then yeah. And then the other book, there's this James Jason, he's really good.
Sorry, what's the name of the
Yeah, this is Dale Pinnock, sorry.
Dale Pinnock? Okay.
Dale Pinnock, the medicinal chef. It's not all vegan, but it does a lot for diabetes, different ailments. It's got a nice section in there about what ingredients help you with what, with things as well. So yeah, so if you're thinking, I've got this ailment, how can I help? What foods can I eat for that? So
Okay.
yeah, that's a really good one. And then there's also Medical Medium, which is the life-changing foods.
Okay.
So the Medical Medium goes into spiritual eating. It also goes into, if you've got a diagnosis of something, what do you do to try and eliminate that diagnosis? Yeah. So
And is that the same author that took? And just move a bit closer to the microphone, Natasha, if you don't mind, because we're not
sorry.
very clear. It's fine. There you go. That's better.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that the same author as the previous book, or is that somebody else?
No, this is a different author.
Okay. Yeah.
So Anthony William.
Okay.
And he's got a series of books. He'll talk about celery juice. He'll talk about heavy metals in the body. Where do you find heavy metals in your food and things like that as well. So yeah, he's certainly one that I follow. I drink 2 pints of celery juice every single morning to help my blood and detox my blood from all the antibiotics and medications and things that I've eaten and taken in the past and things. So yeah.
Okay.
But he's definitely one of my favourites. Let's put it
Thank
like
you.
that.
We've got a question from Dave as well, to say he's cut a lot of meat out of his diet. And what are your thoughts on milk substitutes like Oatly? I know there's a huge variety of plant-based milks out there.
There is a huge, huge variety, whether it's sustainable or not sustainable. I would say do your research on that, but you can do your own Oatly milk very, very easily. It's oats soaked in water overnight, blended in a blender, sieved and put through a piece of muslin, and you have your oat milk. So it all depends how sustainable you want to go. Yes, there is no sugar in it. So a lot of these pre-packed milks have got sugar in it. It's got palm oil in it, or it's got sunflower oil in it and things. So yeah, so if you want to do your own, and literally there's a recipe there for oat milk. I can share that with you, Jane.
Thank you.
Write a list of what I've said to share. Books, oat milk. And of course, you can have gluten-free then as well, because you know your source of your oats.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good questions.
Thank you. And then
Good questions.
A question from Ella, who wants to, if you heat the polytunnel in the winter.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. No, we haven't got that far yet with the system. We did try it using chicken poo around the edges to heat it up a little bit. It failed miserably because the polytunnel was so big. A 42-foot polytunnel, we didn't have enough chicken poo with that, so no, we don't heat it. We do save our own water from it, so we've got a water system. So yeah, we can gather over, let me get this right, 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70. We can gather about 100,000 litres of water on the site.
So that's like the runoff from the polytunnel,
That's the
like you
runoff
would
from
off
the
your roof. Yeah,
polytunnels.
okay.
Yeah, on the polytunnel, the summer house, the outdoor buildings that we've got, and obviously from our own home as well. So yeah, so but no, our problem with our polytunnel is it gets too hot.
Okay.
In the summertime, yes, rather than too cold. We have built raised beds in our polytunnel from concrete, so the concrete holds the heat in for a lot longer rather than the wood. The concrete, because it was gifted to us and the farmer said, do you want to do something with this concrete building? So we turned it into raised beds in the polytunnel rather than it being off to landfill. So yeah, but it's actually worked really, really well. I'm really pleased that we've done it. So yeah.
So do you have stuff that grows in the polytunnel that sort of crops through the winter as well?
Oh yes, yeah, we certainly do. So we're just putting in baby cabbage, but more of the leafy greens. So cabbage, kale, Swiss chard, pak choy. We've just put a load of pak choy in on Monday as well. Little seedlings. They take longer to grow, but they do grow. They do grow. This January we were harvesting Swiss chard and spinach every single day because we put too much in. Too much in because we weren't expecting it to grow quite so much. But obviously January was quite a lot milder than other seasons that we had. Yeah, so for us it's all an experience of what is and what isn't and how does this work and things as well. There's not one textbook that you can just read and do it and go, oh yeah, that worked 100%. So yeah, still trying.
I suppose that's an interesting point, actually, isn't it? Because obviously we all know that because of climate change, the seasons are going to be somewhat different to what we've experienced in the past. That's going to be a challenge for everybody growing outside, even in a polytunnel, because you can't necessarily say that it's likely to be very cold this time of year and it's, you're going to get most of the rain here or there, because things will be different. So
yeah. And we've noticed the difference since being up here for only 9 years. When we first started, we couldn't grow tomatoes after September, October time. And it's only now, it's just this cold patch 2 or 3 days ago when we got down to -4 overnight here. It went from 23 to -4. It's just like, oh, okay. How does that work in the plant world? We've got willow trees are budding again, and it's the wrong time of year to even bud. And it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, we see a massive difference in the climate change.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? And thank you. That's been. Oh yes, Rupert, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I make 2 or 3 comments as an ex-grower?
Absolutely.
Natasha, I had about 70 acres of pick your own and fruit and vegetables and things in the 1970s and 80s, and then I ran out of money and gave up. But I think wastage, our attitude on the strawberries was, how many strawberries did we want from this field? And if we got that picked, we were happy. We didn't look at the field and see what was wasted. We just said, have we got off it what we wanted? And set our target for the year. And you feel much happier that way because you're not worrying about the waste all the time, and you've got to concentrate on the good stuff. And
I love that, Rupert.
It's a good sort of attitude, I think. The other thing was, have you got a slope on your ground, or is it flat?
Primarily flat.
Because if you can run tunnels on a slope, then of course the air heats up in the tunnel and draws cold air in the bottom and sends hot air out the top. If you have the 2 ends open, but if it's on the flat, it won't do that, so you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the simple
Oh,
way of doing
but
it.
that's a really simple solution to other people if people ask me for that, though, because I didn't realise that.
And of course, the trouble with Northampton is it's not a horticultural area. The soils aren't very suitable, the climate isn't very good. And people who are growing your sort of crops are mostly on allotments and small holdings. Or the pick your own farm here is none of its strawberries are on the ground, they're all in coir bags.
Yeah.
So, and nobody's trying to grow them in the bags, because if you grow strawberries every year, you have to sterilize the soil. I've just got one point that always niggles me. I was married to a vegetarian for 31 years, and you're a vegan. What happens to the countryside if everybody goes vegan? What happens to our wildflower meadows if they're not grazed by sheep? What happens to the hedges if we don't need them for livestock, or the stone walls? The countryside is going to change completely. How do you reconcile that with being a vegan? You would wreck England, as it is.
Yeah, it would. If everybody in the whole of the country went vegan, yes, it would absolutely eradicate absolutely everything. It's a really, really good, valid point that you are making. We do hedges, edible hedges at the moment. So we use things like the hazelnuts, the witch hazels, the raspberries, autumn raspberries and things. So we've got edible hedges that we can pick from, but also still use at the back here. So this is a window. After the window, we've got sheep that graze on it, because that's what the farmer does with it. But we've got an edible hedge, but we've planted two sides of the hedge. So for us, it's edible. For the sheep, it's not. It's not an edible sheep.
Sheep don't get to eat your raspberries.
Yeah.
So you are using sheep in your methods, even though you don't eat them. Yes.
The things.
It's a difficult question, isn't it?
It is a very, very good question. I think what would happen to all the cattle? What would happen to all the sheep? How would the land change?
Well, I think what we've got to do is eat less meat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what we've got to do. Certainly, we've got to cut out the methane from the beef and the sheep. I think we'll find ways of doing that, but it's going to take a bit of time. Yeah. But people are eating an awful lot of chicken, which is based mainly on imported soya from South America, or a lot of it is. So, and they think they're doing good by eating chicken. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know where we should go.
No. And that's the thing, isn't it? Do we eat the chicken or do we not eat the chicken? Do we feed the chicken with the soya?
It's about thinking where things have come from, isn't it, to a certain extent?
It is.
We've certainly got to get.
How are they raised? How are they being nurtured? And is this actually helping Mother Earth, or is it not helping Mother Earth?
Well, we do have a huge population compared to the 1970s, which people are sort of always looking back to 1970. Yeah. Look at the increase in population that he's feeding. So it is a difficult problem. Very interesting. Very interesting ideas you've got.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Many different conversations to have as well. With so many different things to think about along the way that we do. So I
think it's about moderation, isn't it, in a way, because there's a if you raise animals in a farming system where you're making use of them to help manage the land rather than intensively inside sheds most of the year, which happens to a lot of cattle now.
Sorry, Jane, you're breaking up a bit. Sorry. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi.
Did everybody else hear me okay, or was it? Yeah, okay. If cattle is raised in a less intensive fashion, then obviously the yield is much lower, so you don't have the same availability of meat to eat. So it is about people eating less, but better produced, perhaps. And I think even just picking up on your comment, Ella, in the comments about rewilding, an awful lot of rewilding schemes. So like the very famous one at Knepp, they do still produce meat on that land, because they need to have the animals there to maintain. Because if you're talking about rewilding and putting back in place natural processes, a lot of those natural processes are driven by large herbivores, and without them, you just end up with scrub and woodland, which doesn't suit all kinds of wildlife. It's a difficult balance.
We could discuss this all night, Jane.
Yes, we could. It's a fascinating topic. No, it's fine.
Really
it's
sorry,
fine.
Jane,
but I do want to draw attention to the to the veganism destroying the
Yeah.
countryside.
Well, there's a lot of things destroying the countryside at the moment, I think, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you so much, Natasha. That's been a really interesting talk. Just one last chance for people to ask questions before we let you go, but we really appreciate that. And yeah, if you could drop me a note afterwards with details of your book and things like that, that would be really appreciated. Thank you so much.
That's an absolute pleasure. I'm really sorry, Jen. I think my internet is in and out a little bit.
I think it is. I think we're losing you a bit. So
yeah.
We'll let you go, I think. That's probably your internet trying to tell you it's time.
Email with...
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very
really
much.
Enjoyable. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you ever so much, everybody. I love and appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to share. And obviously, if you'd like to come and visit Solhaven at any time, then do just let me know. I'll share obviously the link with James so you can share and communicate individually if you need be.
Fantastic.
Please keep up your great work. Every
you too, definitely.
Makes a huge difference to what we're all trying to do with everything. And I look forward to catching up with you.
Thank you. Yes, thanks very much.
I'll sign off for now.
Yeah.
Take care. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.